Are we good? All right. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Great Lakes Poetry Festival, Night 3. My name is Marty Ackitts, and I'm the Adult Programming Coordinator and a co-organizer of the festival this year. I'm really excited to see all of you here tonight. So tonight we're going to be doing something really special. I'm reading from this really beautiful anthology that was edited by Raymond Luzak, and I know that Raymond is watching tonight. So we want to thank Raymond and acknowledge Raymond. He did such a wonderful job putting this book together. And if you were lucky enough to see his reading earlier this month, it was truly amazing. So I'm just going to go through some of the other things that are going to be happening this week. Tomorrow night we have Beverly Mathern, the current UP Poet Laureate, and Russell Thorburn, who was the first UP Poet Laureate. They're going to be doing a co-reading together. I'm calling it the UP Poet Laureate Deathmatch, and we'll see who comes out on top. After that, on Thursday night, we're going to be doing an Indigenous Poetry Night. So we have about 4 Indigenous poets who we are going to be honoring. One is Marty Reinhardt from the Native American Center for Native American Studies at Northern. And then we have Tyler Detloff, who is going to be zooming in for that reading from Sault Ste. Marie because his wife is pregnant and is due to deliver any time. So I'm hoping that he's going to be here Thursday night and not holding his wife's hand in the hospital, although that would be wonderful too. And then we're also going to be honoring the memory and work of 2 other really wonderful Indigenous poets who unfortunately we lost in the last couple of years. One of them was Rosalie Petrosky and one of them was Sally Brunk. So we're going to honor their work as well that night. Friday, we have at noon here in the community room, we're going to be showing Dead Poets Society. So, yes, oh, Captain, my Captain. We'll be showing that at noon, and then Friday night from 7 to 9 at Superior Culture on Washington Street, we have the Harvard Square Press night. And Harvard Square Press has published several books of poetry, and they're going to be, and authors that have published books with Harvard Square Press are going to be there that night sharing their work, including a book launch reading by Ronnie Ferguson. His new book just came out, so really excited about that. Yes. And then Saturday, we have 2 events happening. One starts at 11 a.m., and that is the teen poetry contest that we run every year in conjunction with the Great Lakes Poetry Festival. We have quite a few entries this year. I'm really excited. I just looked through the poems this morning, and we're going to be doing the judging tomorrow. So that's going to be really wonderful. So the teens are going to be here. Hopefully, most of them. You know, it's hard to corral teens to show up for anything. So I'm hoping that we're going to get a good portion of those 15 entrants to come on Saturday. So that's from 11 to 12, and then from 1 to 3 we have another really lovely event. We did sponsor the 3-day chapbook contest over Labor Day this last year, and it was judged by Diane Seuss. So we have the book launch reading of all 3 of the winners, first, second, and third prize. Kathleen, right here, was selected as the third place winner, so she's going to be reading from her book. And then we have Sam Moe, who's going to be reading, and I can never remember, Erica Kielsgaard. Why can't I remember her name? Erica Kielsgaard's going to be reading as well. Sam and Erica will be joining us via Zoom. One is from Alabama, one is from North Carolina, or Virginia, I can't remember which. So they will be joining us. And then, let's see, the last thing, Sunday night, Rippling River Resort, from 5 to 8, we're going to have our afterglow celebration. When it's all over, there is alcohol at that event, so I don't know if that's a draw for anybody. It's a draw for me. So I will be there, and there's going to be several poets there reading as well. I just have to thank the Friends of Peter White Public Library, Northern Michigan University, the Library of Michigan. I have to thank Provisions Marquette, Superior Culture, Rippling River Resort. It takes a lot of people and organizations to put on something like this. And I'm just always so grateful that people are willing to support poetry. I can't thank them enough. Oh, thank you. So as I said, Raymond Luzak could not be here tonight. He's going to be heading out of the country in a day or so. However, he did send a little video that I collaborated with him on that we're going to show prior to getting everybody else up here to read. So Beth, if you could just do the lights. All right, and this is Raymond Luzak. Doe After a Blizzard by Martin Hackett's. My son noticed her first splayed, bloody, broken by a neighbor's fence, a dead doe, shining in the sunlight that always comes after a blizzard. Sunlight so strong, it hurts to step into it. Sunlight that shouts. The doe was haloed in that light. And my son, only 5, said, "Fix it, Daddy." Reduced me to an Easter Island Moai. Stone face immutable in the presence of suffering. I wanted to tell my son I can't. Or she's gone. Or she's with God. Or some other emptiness recited in church so often it has lost its ability to comfort. Instead, I picked my son up, carried him closer to the doe, whispered in his ear, "Isn't she beautiful?" I watched his face change, confusion giving way to something seraphic. "Yes," he said, nodding. "Yes, she is. Yes. Yes, yes, yes." So I was so honored that Raymond asked me to do that with him. So beautiful. He's an amazing supporter and writer and editor. I can't say enough about him. So we are going to start the reading. I told all the poets we're going to go in the order in which they appear in the book, and that means Kathleen is first. And what I'm going to do to introduce you is I'm just going to read what's your biography in the back of the book. So here we go. If I can, there we go. I'm going to do this as well. So Kathleen Heidemann is the author of Psalms of the Early Anthropocene. She has completed residencies with the National Park Service, including Isle Royale, watersheds, research stations, foundations, and the National Science Foundation's Antarctic Artists and Writers Program. So she spent time with penguins, I hope. Yeah, that's amazing. Drawn to wild and threatened places, she works to defend them as a member of the Upper Peninsula Environmental Coalition. Heidemann received a Writers' Award from the city of Marquette and was a finalist for the UP Poet Laureate, and I always feel guilty because I was the one that that she came in second to. Sorry. Her work appears in And Here, 100 Years of Upper Peninsula Writing from Michigan State University Press, and her manuscript, A Brief Report on the Human Animal, won 3rd place in the International 3-Day Chapbook Contest. It will be published in 2024. It actually is published, and you can come on Saturday to hear her read from that. And she is a very curious woman, and I'm proud to call her my friend. Please welcome Kathleen Heidemann.
Thank you, Marty. So I was going to put on my Yooper coat here. I'm afraid I'll burst into flame. I've been hot all day. But this is my father-in-law's old flannel shirt. So can everybody hear me? Am I in the right place? Okay. So thank you, Marty. And yes, the chapbooks, in fact, arrived while I was taking a shower today from the publisher. So it was super exciting. I have poems in here that have been kicking around for way too long. Poets sort of understand this. You end up with a pile of poems that you're not sure why they haven't found their audience, but an audience in print is only half of it. They have found their audience in listeners tonight, so that's the biggest honor. Back in 1998, when I first met my future father-in-law, it was through researching these poems. So they're set in the Iron Range of Negaunee and Ishpeming, and I think that's what you need to know. Also, that whole project started with a very bad boyfriend who became Rusty. Poor Rusty. Poor Rusty, he was always somebody's weary young husband, broken, dying early. You can't avoid him. Orangey, soda bright, acidic, pyritic, he puddles at your feet, omnipotent. Rusty's face on your beater pickups fender oxidizing into brittle lace. He was here from the start. Brittle photos of Rusty double-jacking in Jackson Pit, 1856, prying open rock pages with his pick, holding drill or shovel, carbide lamp, his black pupils swelling to fill the hole of his eyes. Oh, they swore he could see in the dark, that fellow. He's there dumping cantilevered ore carts down in the Negaunee, compressed air in Blueberry, electrified mucker in the Mather Bee, running the sump engine, shouldering a widowmaker, and when the final shift resurfaced, Rusty rode away atop the last ore car sent downhill to waiting freighters. He swallowed darkness in every drift he worked, unquenchable thirst, that boy. He stood your grandfather whiskey for whiskey in the crowbar, then steered the old man home. He's always been our dearest hope, our North Star, sacrificial lamb, cherubic schoolboy, scrubbed for mass despite his fading black eye, and inside his work glove a finger, rock shattered and bloody. Oh, he kept going, poor Rusty. He was always somebody's weary young husband, broken, dying early, dismissed, heart attack, trust, double hernia, whistling cheery as the men descended single file in Moss Mine into Athens mines, dark maw. He was our virgin gutted hole, boy given night after night to Vulcan mine, plaything for the town bully, scapegoat, hero, miner of the year. Undaunted, tireless, with a lift of his chin, he'd nod to old blind Tiresias, the mine's night watchman, who nightly dug a ruddy trench in shattered hematite to pour the blood libation fresh from Salo's meats, raw aperitif to appease the ghosts who made those wild ore howls all the miners heard below. Rock popping, tap-tapping, gnawing noises, the secret shivering certainty of something deeper than the lowest level. Oh, that was Rusty for you, whistling. Oh, he shrugged it off, never wept, or wept openly. Or maybe it was Rusty from the start, Rusty who made such unearthly sounds, him in the sobbing seams of our heart. So Rusty just changes faces through the whole set of poems. This is really Rusty too. Olson Brothers Waste Management. Joke was they managed the waste by merely sorting junk by type. Fridge stoves in this pile, sofas, chairs in that, Glass, cans, windows, barrels, a billion parts nobody'd take for scrap. Oh, but their genius was in knowing this land like the back of their hand. Unmarked shafts, the hidden piggy banks where anything they dropped stayed down. Abracadabra. Ka-ching! You'd do the same. Myriad empire boys sent away for magic coins, rings, brochures, kits that promised to impart the art of making stuff disappear. You'd start small at first, sure, a few bright coins behind your ear, silk scarves, cards, bags of wormy crab apples, hardened house paint, working your way up to shingles, beds, tarp-shrouded loads, hell, some old widower nobody'd ever miss. There's bottomless holes, Pavo swore, drinking brandy, if you just know where to look. And his brother kicked him hard under the bar. We're waste professionals, he said. Waste professionals, said Ole, his soft hands folded smoothly as a funeral director's, perfect nails. It's magic, boys. We wave our wands, make shit go poof. All right, and this one is Mark Mitchell. Many people know. He's done a lot of educational programs on mining and the history of the local area. And Mark Mitchell gave a presentation at the Iron Ore Heritage Center, the Iron Range Heritage Center that I saw once, and I changed it into this. So, an educational program concerning mining. Here's how it works, our leader says. Picks people from the audience at the Iron Mining History Museum, sorts us by height, makes everybody lift their arms straight out into the air. Our aligned row of necks and our upright spines he calls the mine shaft. Our parallel lifted arms he calls drifts on consecutively deeper levels. Some mines, he tells us, went down 100 levels, 1,000 feet or more. The tallest fellow's head is the shaft house. His ears are iron wheels grooved for hoisting cables. He is ordered to whistle and squeal and screech. Fathers are chosen to use their bare hands as shovels and picks. The rest of us wait with arms upraised, standing there like we're surrendering. Our leader tells us to send up more iron. We must use our hearts, arteries, biceps, stoop and lift, shovel and fill, hammer and blast. Are you feeling it? It's hard work. It's a messy business, ore. A few of our fathers are told to lay down on the floor now, injured or killed, crushed, and our leader runs through, tossing something between our feet. Toy mice made from scraps of rabbit fur. Rats. Everywhere you looked, there were rats, he yells. He's excited now, blowing red dust over us, powdered blood meal. We inhale it and cough. We're sweating now, shouting and squealing and blasting and shoveling and hoisting, waving arms and stooping, red dust caking on wet skin. The audience looks uneasy. You're the location, the neighborhood around the mine, he tells them. He throws red dust on them. See, red was ore body, red was labor. He says men died wheezing, red lung, he says, millions of tons, billions, fame and fortune. Are you listening? Are you getting this? Laundry drying on the line turned pink. We took our rock and we turned it into money. A girl in the audience is weeping. A woman objects, but too late. Proud history, says our leader. He gives our father's script, takes it back again. He sells them candles and blasting caps. He plants our mothers here and there, limbs, he calls them virgin pines, makes them chant, pines hold up the mines, limbs jutting, limbs akimbo, tossing wild hair, snapping under pressure. The leader says we must cut down our mothers to make more mining timbers. I didn't ask for this, whimpers a boy covered in dust, him and his grandmother coughing, rubbing eyes. We must think about what industry needs. The leader tells the children to join hands now, teaches them to sing. There's a treasure in the ground, dig it out, dig it out. There's a treasure in the ground, dig it out. There's a treasure in the ground, dig it out, dig it out. There's a treasure in the ground, dig it out. They repeat it, jumping up and down in their seats, coughing and stomping their feet, while we, a mining machine made of fathers and mothers and children, dig it out, dig it out. There's a treasure in the ground, dig it out. Go on shoveling and grinding and sweating, shuddering and blasting and suffering, dig it out. Not sure how we got into this or how we make it stop. Can I do one more? Okay. That's also sort of in memory of Ernie Ron, labor organizer from Negaunee and Ishpeming, who just gave me so much time and amazing information. Ernie Ron, yeah, amazing. So, all right, this one is the reverse of that. And this is for my husband, who was a projectionist at the Nordic Theater once upon a time. And his brother was actually the projectionist at the Delft across the street. So he's a film lover. Now playing. Down at the Delft Theater, we're all watching that silent film, Taming the Michigan Wilderness, for the umpteenth time. When it's done, the projectionist plays it backwards to rewind, and everyone stays to watch that too. Even better, like it was a vaudeville magician's act. Oh, how astonishing to see our black trains running backwards uphill from the ore docks, engines blowing smoke, broken ore pouring out from the trams back down the shaft holes where it came from. Our grandfathers unbent and growing younger, smiling now. The roads unribboning, replaced by ferns and upholstered slopes of pincushion moss. The miners' bank and trust building dissembled, dragged stone by stone back to the quarry, and best of all, great logs rolling uphill from the riverbanks, bouncing a few times like boys on a diving board and bounding upright. White pines, wild-haired virgins, pine trees, ancient trees, as far as the eye can see. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. So a word from our sponsor, not really, but I want to give a shout out to Dana in the back and Snowbound Books, who was here last night for Diane Glancy's reading, and we have some books from Diane Glancy if you were not able to make it last night. It's a really wonderful book, and I really encourage you to purchase that. And she also has copies of the Yooper Poetry Anthology as well. And you know what? Snowbound Books, 40 years they're celebrating, right? That's what you said, 40 years. So we have to support our independent bookstores. We really do. Anyway, so our next reader is going to be Gayla Malherbe, who's my once-a-week writing companion. She comes up to my office and we get together early and write. And I once stranded her on the roof of the library for like half an hour by mistake because I forgot about a meeting and she was up there just writing. So anyway, she didn't mind it though. I don't think she did. It was a little warm though. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about Gayla. Gayla Malherbe grew up in Munising and lives in Marquette, Michigan. Her parents fostered her connection to nature, camping in the Hiawatha National Forest, hikes along pictured rocks, weekends at the cabin, blueberry picking along dusty two-tracks, cross-country skiing, and winter campfires. She was truly raised outside. She and her husband have raised their own children with full access to the wonder and awe of forest, stream, bog, and lake. In her poems, Gayla writes about growing up and living in the UP, as well as her experiences of parenting, which cannot be separated from the natural world. And I will say this about Gayla, when I text her in the morning or something, sometimes she's like just coming back from like a 20-mile run in the morning. So she's an amazing individual. I'm also honored to call her a friend. Please welcome Gayla Malherbe.
Thank you, Marty. You're kind of an exaggerator. But
Only 15 miles.
But he did leave me on the roof, and it's black rubber, and it was hot. And I would just kept scooting closer to like the I don't know, the cooling system, to like get in the shade of the cooling system. He didn't lock me up there. I stayed because I was writing. But so I had to step up on the stage and skip the steps in honor of Christine Sari, because she would not take the steps. She would do a giant step up to the stage. So she's in Austria right now, but that was my shout out to Christine. Even though my foot fell asleep, so when I tried to get up there, I was like, oh. I'll just read these in order. I'm going to read one about spring in the UP. I'm going to read a couple about camping in the Hiawatha National Forest. The one thing I want to mention is that when lightning hits trees, sometimes they break apart in all kinds of pieces, but sometimes they carry the strike down their root or down their trunk. So that happens sometimes. And then I'm going to read one for my dad, he's had a tough couple of years. He's doing okay right now, but this is kind of looking back to when the tough started. So the first one is called Spring in March. A finch sits on the shovel handle, waits for his turn at the thistle-filled socks that hang and sway with the slight weight of a dozen hungry birds. Goldfinch, siskins, redpoll. There's a chickadee at the window feeder. March is brutal today, full of wind and fury. Late season snow asks us again for resilience. Yesterday, robins on the farm fields found food in patches of sun-thawed earth. Yesterday, our tires and tennis shoes gripped sidewalks and asphalt, while snow slipped away in small rivers, followed curbs into gutters, quenched our spring-thirsty spirits with puddles. The storm. I was probably doing somersaults underwater or swimming out past the drop-off with sisters and cousins when those ominous clouds moved in from the north, high and layered, traced in charcoal. We watched them swallow the sun, felt the chill of low winds crossing water, as Mother summoned us with open beach towels, wrapped our goose-pimpled sun-brown bodies in terry cloth. By the time I reached our camper, my bare feet were slippered in mud. The sky flickered yellow, leaves blew upside down. Dad secured the boat, covered the woodpile, rolled up the windows on the truck as the first heavy drops pelted the tin roof. We huddled together on cushioned bench seats, hair still dripping, watched the lake fill with circles, saw the dry earth leap, listened as the rumble moved closer. We imagined God and his angels bowling in the folds of that dark sky, heard that marbled ball heavy on the alley, the crash of giant pins, each time a little closer to the flicker, a little closer to our campsite, a little closer to our wide eyes, our small pounding hearts. Each time the sky split open with light, we waited, fists clenched, 1001, 1002, until there was no time between flash and noise. That final crack felt like an emergency or an accident, sounded like a universe ending or beginning, or maybe trees exploding. After the storm, we found the human-sized splinters jabbed in the ground like darts, smelled the burnt marrow of maple. But that hemlock on the hill did not explode when lightning licked its highest boughs. It channeled that strike from top to bottom as electricity sliced through bark and cambium like a skill saw. we can still slide our fingers through that groove. It burnt a little track all the way down, but there was a groove, like somebody just took a saw all the way down. Our lake. I can still hear the wail of loons in the calm air of early morning, feel the heat of late July after dinner, sun beating on our eastern shore, staining our faces golden. I see the dome of endless stars above us, the bats swooping, flashlights at the command of small hands scanning the shallows for crayfish as we huddle around the last embers of a fire no one wants to leave. I can still see Uncle Rick bounding out fully clothed, diving into the lake just to make us laugh. I feel my grandmother's hands and comb on my scalp, dividing and weaving my lake-damp hair into braids. I smell our pine bough forts, feel the sting of cuts on my palms from picking the bracken fern. I see my father's silhouette in his boat, his hand on the motor at sunset. As he heads out, leaves a trail of silver rose ripples in his wake. And this is the last one, and it's called What the Doctor Did Not Know. The doctor that delivered the news to my father and me that day, the news about his broken lungs, did not know that my dad was not done living, that he would still sing even if his voice was weak and hoarse, play his guitar even if his wrists were red and swollen, that he would sneak outside to hang laundry when my mom was not at home, that he would take a chance and remove it all, oxygen cord, wrist brace, walker, for one cool, poignant leap in the lake. The doctor did not know that my dad would take his oxygen tank to the blueberry patch, rig it with 25 feet of tubing, crawl on hands and knees until his hamstrings ached, pick 4 quarts of blueberries in 3 hours. The doctor did not know that my dad was not done living, that he had no pride in how things looked or seemed, only a fierce enthusiasm for the gifts of his life. The doctor did not know that my dad would choose to become breathless if it meant saying thank you to the receptionist, calling her by name. Or pausing. Oh, dang it. I didn't want to do that. I was doing so good. I'm almost done. Okay. Or pausing to shake hands with the man who said, "Welcome home, brother." That my dad would still go camping, fishing, side-by-side riding, and putts in the basement. That's all.
You almost made it through that, Gayla. But it's such a beautiful poem and such a great tribute to your father. So our next reader is going to be Suzanne Sunshower. And, you know, this is the first time I think that we've met. But I've been living with this book and reading these poems so much. I mean, you read these poems and you feel like you get to know and be friends with every single person in this book. And that's what's great about poetry. And so I really feel like I know you, and that we are friends already. So I'll just read what Suzanne has in the back of the book here for her biography. Suzanne Sunshower, I got to do this. Oh my God, I'm getting old. I really am. Suzanne Sunshower moved into a tiny semi-off-grid hunt shack in the big woods of Michigan's UP when she was 60. No one had ever lived there year-round before, and the realtor said discouragingly, "I think you'll find it very challenging." Her poems in this anthology reflect her experiences of adjustment during the first year of her big new adventure at Bear Shack. And I'm so happy that you did move to Bear Shack, and I'm so happy that you're here tonight with us. Please welcome Suzanne Sunshower.
Thank you so much for celebrating with us. And I am from Michigan. But yes, this has been a crazy big new adventure. Oh. 60th birthday song said to friends upon moving to what would become Bear Shack. I'll do my 60s my own way, thank you. This isn't my first rodeo, in a forest or anywhere else. You saw me dancing in the big town before I tippled on the edge of a small one. And there was that hilly Dakota cabin, as well as mountains, rivers, seas, that I climbed or forded in between. You know perfectly well that I've hopped across many a creek, stone, and marsh to wander woods, as I continually brought to life my own imagination. Now I'm doing it again. Snowy day with wind. Yeah. 5 months into the woods at Bear Shack. Winds persist through afternoon. Snow dust blows from overpowdered trees. So many small things in a rush at once. Dog's sugary muzzle tilts up in usual mask of sincerity. No match for cuteness. Human melts. No one's singing for food now. Both fur and feather hunkered down. Tree fist tops shake more than just a sway. Human surveys cedar marsh nervously, notes which trees wobble too much. A top came down in autumn over wires. Such danger seems never far. Before, Michigan's tornado land midsection was scary on its own terms. But there's a different take on wind now, living in a forest. Majestic beauties, life givers, warmth and shelter providers, trees, are savored best when enjoyed upright, not so much when crashing down. April ice storm. 6 months into the woods at Bear Shack. All this shoving of winter into spring, trees coming and going, glazed masses breakdancing in tune to a roaring sky, leaves me breathless. Funny how much I enjoyed the chilly ride of winter. Who would believe I don't want winter to go? But with this last storm's end comes spring. Its muddy feet kicking at my door, uncaring of my unacceptance. It now demands I jump on this new ride and take it wherever it goes. In respect for Spirit Mound, 12 months into the woods at Bear Shack. What happens here stays here. Earthen mound haunted by gnashing teeth and picked bones lying still, but never active horror. Action almost always takes place in the dark before human and dog reappear. I stand up tall on Spirit Mound and look around, honor the energy. Much death with life happens in these woods. Today, fresh, meaty bones scatter the ground. Judging by the rib cage size, the grazing skunk was not the perpetrator this time. There are no cameras in a forest. Interlopers cannot know what happens when an unsuspecting back is turned.
Suzanne, I can hardly wait to read your collection. It's got to be called Bear Shack. I really think it has to be. That's going to be amazing. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Our next reader is going to be Kathleen Carlton Johnson. I think the first time that Kathleen and I encountered each other is when I was overseeing the Joy Harjo NEA Big Read, and I was looking for people to record stories and reflections, and she contacted me. She lives up in Lorium and that, and she contacted me and recorded something, and then she said, I'm a poet too. And I was like, that's fantastic. She sent me a book of a chapbook of her poems, which are stunning. If you've read her work in here, you know that. But I'm so honored to have her here tonight. All the way down from Lorium. So, and she had quite the adventure trying to check into her hotel room. If you want to hear that story, ask her after we're done reading, and she will tell you. But she did get an upgrade at the end, so that's good. Anyway, let me read a little bit about Kathleen. Kathleen was born in Lorium and is both a teacher and a visual artist. She has been a fellow at the Anderson Center in Minnesota and the American Academy in Rome. Poetry and language have been lifelong passions. Her work has appeared in the MacGuffin, Third Wednesday, Rattle, and the William and Mary Review, and in every edition of the UP Reader since 2021. That's pretty impressive. Her current publication is Reign of Stars, Poems from Trap Rock Press, and she currently lives in Lake Linden and is a member of the Upper Peninsula Publishers and Authors Association, whose conference is coming up in May. Please register. Yeah. And where she writes a column called Waterproof White for the organization. Please welcome Kathleen Carlton Johnson.
I'm coming. Don't ever have ankle surgery. That's my one-off this evening for you. It is awful to sit in a chair for 12 weeks and you can't do anything. Anyway, it's part of getting older.
I'm going to adjust this mic for you.
Okay.
Down a little bit. There you go.
I'm going to read the first poem that's in the book here. And especially if you are female and you live in the UP. I've been married for 44 years, and it's true, you need to clap. Oh, dear. Anyway, hunting season. My husband is a local boy, as I am too. My father was in the service, so we traveled around. But when it came to build his retirement home, I met the builder, and that was it. So that's how I got back home. Hunting season. He will appear after work, going straight to the closet, pull out a satchel and stuff it. Underwear, socks, pants, and shirt. And a plastic bag, toothbrush, paste, and comb, so focused he cannot speak. I look as he enters the hall. The light is dim, but it does not hide that distance growing between us. The walls look geometric, cold in the shadows. His gear waits. He rummages for his gun downstairs. What is this that draws him into a wooded place to hunt and sleep among other males? The primitive becomes evident. Our homely exchanges rotate around groceries, socks, and misplaced hats. There is only one direction, and that is urgent. The mandatory kiss, and he never looks back. I have lost this person I love to a wolf's heart, but say nothing as expected of the wife. For 2 weeks, our lives stop. Sadness and sinking rotate in awkward waves. When he returns, smelling of wood stove, bacon grease, and sweat, when he has showered and melted back into the family, he will be happy, greeting me as his wife, and we will continue. If any of you've lived that, girls, you've lived that. This is a teacher that I had in school called Mistress of Information. My education awash in competition, all roads leading to the library, where Miss T resided with her books, shelved according to category, rotating magazines to newer versions, processing lists of timely loans. Her penny loafer cardigan style, mistaken by other students as plainness and repetition in manner, was calculated management, teetering between exquisite balance of citizenship, deportment, and ladylike behavior. A Caribbean spirit had diffused its natural self. Years before, in exotic Bermuda, holidays of skilled entertainment, long narratives that always contained lost luggage, slender waists, and a demure pose from a bar stool. Ages had passed since Mother had seen to it that lively memories of island affections were exchanged for virginal books, all in direct Dewey order. She was pressed into a private school teaching grammar, the sticky stuff of sentences. It was my first sway into her realm, dressed in a blue blazer with the imprint of the school's crest in the same spot where my heart beat, close to my chest. Education, I was learning, was perfect attendance, an achievement ascribed on a bronze auditorium plaque. That was my education. I read you last one here. The river. If it is just about water, I could answer the question. The floating and rapid growth of pools after rain, or the mud that blackens the hull as we pull it to the shore. Rivers, however, are usually sandy-bottomed, silt-lined, stone-filled with random fish. It is the stories a river tells between the banks, river bends, sandbars, the occasional sunken log, boys jumping to swim, merchandise going to market. Water crossed by a bridge must now take sides. The river becomes political. Amen.
All right. Everybody doing okay out there? Isn't this wonderful? You're meeting all kinds of new friends tonight. And the next friend that I'm going to introduce that you're going to meet is Ellen Lord. And, I should do this. Is Ellen Lord. And Ellen wasn't sure she was going to be here tonight. And then yesterday was so beautiful She thought, "Oh, it's beautiful weather. I'm going to drive down, and we'll go to Marquette and do this reading." And then, of course, we had today, where we experienced all 4 seasons in the space of about 12 hours. But I'm so happy that Ellen braved the roads and got here safely. Again, like I said, I feel like I know every one of these people, even though I've just met 3 of them in person for the first time. Let me tell you a little bit about my friend Ellen. All right. Ellen Lord is a UP native. She was raised in Ontonagon, Stevenson, and Trout Creek. Wow, that is really UP. And has always cleaved to wild places. She is a behavioral health therapist specializing in addiction and trauma. Her writing has appeared in Bear River Review, Dunes Review, Walloon Writers Review, UP Readers, HSA Frog Pond, and elsewhere. And her chapbook, Relative Sanity, is available at several independent bookstores. Hooray for independent bookstores! As well as online. Her email address, I'm not going to give you. You can get that at the back of the book if you want. But please welcome to the stage Ellen Lord.
I drove up from Charlevoix, not down. Yeah. So good evening, Marquette. It's always good to come home. It's funny, every time, I'm a little long in the tooth, and every time I drive north over the Mackinac Bridge, I get teared up. And it just happens every time. And then I kind of sigh when I drive back down. So long pattern behavior. I want to thank the brilliant Raymond Lusek for including me in this anthology. I think the poetry in this anthology is just wonderful. And I just really wanted to meet everyone who had the poems. I got the book about 3 weeks ago, and so I've gone through it once, and I'm going through it again, and I even sold some copies at another author fair, so that was good. And thank you, Marty, for putting this together. It's wonderful. I grew up in 3 different towns in the UP. I was actually born in Kalamazoo, but I know I was conceived in the UP, and I have proof of that. So, yeah. And we still have our grandparents' house in Trout Creek, so I consider that home. I'm going to start with just a little haibun, which is a little narrative prose poem, and ends with a haiku. And it probably was conceived while I was up at the Porcupine Mountains. So I go to the Porky Fest every year, and I like to hike those trails. It's called Ontonagon in the Moonlight. Finally, after another ruthless squall, my world is spring breeze warm. Whiffs of wind whiffle marsh grass as winter loses its grip on the day. I smile at the shapeshift of poofless clouds as they slide along in syncopated scud. How courageous these crocus appear, a harbinger for legions of delightful daffodils. I rejoice as green spires slide up, moist and tender to reach for the sun. And what of this soul-sequined meadow, festooned with sparkle under a wild northern sky? After the storm, swoonful eyes on blue, Michigan spring. Stepping back a couple of months, snow day, again. Yesterday's sun was dialed to low glow, and now a tease of longer daylight beckons the dormant garden to shift and groan. Tonight, Snow Moon winks her milky eye, slinks beyond the tree line, unencumbered, and somewhere a nightbird sings. Sometimes it's such a relief to be languid and dreamy, nestled with books and cardamom tea. I don't miss that garden at all. Sultry summer's seductive mistress. I'll wait. I'll wait with the sultry mistress. It's all right. Sometimes it's such a relief to be languid and dreamy, nestled with books and cardamom tea. I don't miss that garden at all. Sultry summer's seductive mistress, with her drunken beads and her outlaw weeds. And yet, this yearning. And finally, this poem is called Hometown. I guess it's kind of an elegy to Trout Creek. My grandparents aren't there anymore, but my sister-in-law own it now, and I get up there whenever I can, and I consider it home. So, hometown. Trout Creek was a boom town for lumber barons in the early 1900s. Bars and churches swelling with the devoted. Now almost everyone is dead or gone. We own the ancestral home, honoring a long lineage of widows, preserving stories, tribal lore. I like the empty church on the corner. Went to summer Bible school there as a kid, just 1 year. Don't know how they let me attend or even why I wanted to go, me, a Catholic girl. Something about being with my best friend. She was a holy roller. That sounded mysterious, maybe even sinful, venial, not mortal. I loved their arts and crafts, songs and laughter. No tedious genuflections. Now, someone maintains the building, perhaps that old couple next door, both stooped and shuffling but methodical. Grass is always mowed, the walk shoveled in winter. A bit of sparkle remains on the stained glass door. I peek through windows, see empty pews, empty altar, wooden Jesus silent on the cross. There is a for sale sign on the lawn. Maybe I'll make an offer. Turn it into an art gallery, or better yet, a meditation hall and shrine. A place for all the lapsed Irish Catholics who cleave to pagan rituals. Offer classes in moon howling, snipe hunting, and chainsaw art. I'd hire a biker tattoo artist. Request, God is naked love, inked in blue on my heart. Thank you.
You know, whenever I read a funny poem that includes Catholicism in it, because I grew up Catholic as well, you know, I noticed the wave of laughter. The first laughter are Catholics that went to Catholic school. The second ones are Catholics that went to church, and then the third ones are everybody else. So, pretty amazing. Thank you so much, Ellen. All right. We are down to our last reader for the evening. I like to say we save the best for last, but everybody's been the best tonight. I'd just like to say a few words about Jen, my friend Jen. In the book, she's under Jennifer Ellen Breed. I think I said that right. I know her as Jen Howell as well. Jen, what's really amazing about Jen is she had stopped writing until about a year and a half ago. And then she started writing and attending workshops and everything. And she has suddenly transformed before my very eyes into just a wonderful, beautiful poet. And I'm so excited every time she comes to one of my workshops or it comes to my office and reads me something new that she's written. But she always brings me baked treats, too, which I appreciate as well. She is the purple-haired gremlin in the back, will be joining us very soon. Let me tell you a little bit here about Jen here. So Jen was born and raised in the Upper Peninsula, having lived in Gladstone, Marquette, and the Keweenaw. A musician, writer, non-traditional celebrant, and eclectic solitary practicing druid. Jennifer endeavors to develop deep ties to the land wherever she roams, celebrating creation through these conduits of experience. Jennifer plans to relocate to New Mexico. That's been put off a little while. Thank goodness we have her longer here. And will carry the blessings of the lakes, forests, people, and experiences in the UP within her always. She intends to collaborate with artists in the UP while making her way in the vibrant Santa Fe and Taos region. But we still have her here. We have her here tonight. Please welcome my friend, Jen.
For short people. So thank you for your very kind words, Marty. It's really an honor to be here. You know, music, I've always thought of myself, I'm a musician first and maybe not really a writer. I took a poetry class in college, and I think everybody's styles were so different than mine, and I think timing and maturity is very important to finding your essence and your voice. And head trauma, I think, about 10 years ago had a big effect on the current artistic expression and development. So getting the start with writing again, Helen Haskell Ramin was really my impetus to start writing. When she passed away, I said, how can I honor her memory? And so I'm going to close tonight with a poem dedicated to Helen. So Helen gets the last word, which I love. Yeah, but I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you for your kind words. It's really humbling and an honor to be here with all these amazing veteran writers and so many people that you've just blown me away with what's in this book. So my poems aren't too long. I timed myself. So I'm going to read almost all of them, and we should still be good. Sorcery. The creek pours over itself, folds pregnant moon into frothing corners of its mouth. The firefox spins in the yard, igniting auroras in the grass. I wander out through the sparks beneath the chartreuse curtain of sky, a baptism, a cleansing. Burn off the dross of sick days, stock this stand of birch and pine with real feet stumbling, real feet falling over underbrush. Young wings blossom into flapping, an owl in the dark. You wrap around me, masquerading as a shield of stars. Seduce me over this edge where thirsty root meets supple bank, and moon water melds our skin into something silver smooth and daring. The forest quakes with sorcery, and still no thing knows, except the moth, who is awake, eating light. Passion. Somewhere in the forest, a cherry bursts between my teeth. Juice drips down naked chins and necks, down breasts and jawlines, pools in navels, bare toes in supple soil, rocks both round and sharp, pits of cherries spat as offerings for forest goddesses and the gods, and vultures of past unrequited wailings. More, more, I cry. Ferns sprout exuberant and tall, berries overgrowing, sweet ferns overgrowing, tickling soft, prickly grasses cradle waxing sweat of bodies crowding pale thighs, hot and ginger to the touch, and in the sky maple leaves caress each other's thin-veined skin while the wind stokes and sighs, kisses folds of green and pink blushing. Wake the dawn in ravens' mouths as the hermit thrush braids its lust libretto from tree to tree, and a fox licks its lips from the bushes. The river to the east hears no song but the bewitchment in your eyes, blue and moon-swept, whose language is the same. The North Shore. Light bringer, dance me to the edge of lunacy. This highest tide, the perfect edges of your lips, rushing seafoam silk and never full. These flowers fed by roaring sea, the ones that wake and weep in me, bloom. Sweetness shared. My favorite season is autumn, by the way. You see my little maple leaf bookmark, so I had to get an autumn poem in here. Sweetness shared. My second favorite thing in the world today is this maple leaf the size of my face, gleaming candy apple red with dappled green, like a child streaked it splotchy in Granny Smith's kitchen. I can taste it, sugar hot and cinnamon orchard's tang beneath a smattering of honey gold leaf mold and toffee. How it hides our lips pressed together sweet and sticky. From the ravens and the crows, the mountain ash and nymphs, who are always tattling to the sky. A very short one. January. My snowshoeing has rustled up a great horned owl. Her call hangs like wood smoke, drifting through to bone. And finally, sap season, in loving memory of Helen Haskell Ramin. Everything is in a circle, they said. Roundness of birch trees, bark thin and curling, golden lake, the tires of the bike that could have killed me on James Lake Road across from the 16 acres where we tapped maples for amber elixir, stirring in the cook pan, sweet steam and wood smoke, a benediction in that garage of logs and chipped chinking, snowmelt streaked across the floor. Some March not long ago, my friend Helen offered me a jar of sugar water, the first of sap gathered, filled with fairy glee, her body thin and curling. I had forgotten sap's mellow sweetness, how it courses through the body, how it made me feel at one with trees. Only the maples knew, or the fairies maybe, that this would be her parting gift. This woman made of leaves and honey, body housing nymphs and elves, wildflowers sprouting from her lips. A song from my childhood, a verse I had forgotten. I think that spring the maples wept.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, I thank you for invoking Helen here tonight. You know, Helen was a good friend to many of the people that are here, and she probably would have walked from Ishpeming to Marquette for every event that was at the poetry festival. She would have. Yeah, or she would have strapped on cross-country skis and skied here, whatever. So she was amazing. But thank you to all the readers who came tonight. Please go and buy one of these books, these anthologies. They're wonderful, and I'm sure that, you know, if you ask a poet to sign something, they will, whether it's a receipt or a book. They'll sign it. So, so please go and purchase one of these books. purchase 2 of them. Give it to a friend. It's a really wonderful, wonderful collection. I just have one announcement here. Ellen gave this to me and asked me to announce this, and I think it's a really wonderful event coming up this Sunday, July 21st, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's Lacken and Land Book Launch and Vendor Event Art Fair, and it's joined some of the most talented UP artists and authors from various for various delights. It's going to be taking place at the Lacken and Land Sculpture Park, which is just off M28. I think most people know where it is. And I'm just looking at the list of vendors that you have already, and it's pretty amazing. Are they still accepting vendors? Okay, they need more authors. Everybody, they need more authors. They need more authors. You don't hear calls like that very often. So they need more authors. I have this information that Ellen provided for me. If you want to, and she's got more. You can take a picture of it if you want, whatever you need. But please consider doing this at Lacken and Land. I want to thank again Dana for coming tonight and selling books. I want to thank everybody for showing up on this full year of seasons today. And I hope that you can come back tomorrow. If you feel impelled to create poetry tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m., really wonderful poet Lynn Domina is going to be doing a poetry workshop from 2 to 4 p.m. right upstairs in the Shiras room. And then tomorrow night at 7 p.m., we have Beverly Mathern and Russell Thorburn who will be reading their works as well. So do not miss the UP Poet Laureate Death Match tomorrow night. Okay, everybody? Thank you for coming. Drive safe, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. And thank you to Raymond Luzak again. Thank you.